Good morning. I'd like to call to order the board of the Hingham Municipal Lighting Plant, August 9th, 7:30 a.m. This meeting is being held remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023 and all other applicable laws, temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You're hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, so that the chair may inform all other participants of said recording. So what I'd like to do, so we have an hour, so let's make some good use of it. And it's possible that if we don't get to the various updates at the end of the meeting, maybe Tom could write them down as a memo and send them to the board, just so that we get the update. Yeah, Tyler likes that one, to make sure we get it. And also, I certainly hope we'll get to the financials, but if we don't, then alert us if there's anything we need to know about our next meeting, about the financials. So if it is acceptable to the board, I would like to just approve the meeting minutes, which is listed as item 4 on the agenda, just to get those out of the way, because I think I'm the person who was holding these up. There were 4 sets of meeting minutes that need to be approved. Does anybody have any requested changes to any of those, if you have had the time to catch up with them? Mike, Tyler, all good?
All good. I think I submitted a couple minor changes a few weeks ago.
And I made those changes, yep.
Okay,
I think there was one date that was carried through that needed to be updated, but other than that,
did you communicate that to Tom, or do we need to figure out what that is now?
I did not. I think it was just one of the sets of minutes was copied through and it was not for that date. So
I had the wrong date on the minutes.
Oh,
yeah,
I'll go back and go
Okay.
back and find that.
well,
Yeah, take
then
care.
we will just by unanimous consent accept that change when Tom tracks it down. And
Yeah.
I just had one change that I wished to make to the minutes of May 16th. Sorry that it's so far in the past. May 16th, under board reorganization, it says the board has agreed to keep their respective seats for the next year. As is customary in some 3-person boards, the board member in their last year will be considered the chairperson. I'd like to change that just to read, in some, as is customary in some 3-person board, the board member in their last year is often elected chair, because that's actually what happens, but it's up to the board whether that's what they do or not. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make that change.
If that's okay with everybody. So if there's no other suggested changes, then I'll entertain a motion to approve all 4 of those sets of meeting minutes, May 16th, June 6th, June 13th, and June 27th.
so moved.
Second.
Great. All in favor, Tyler?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Laura? Aye. Great. Thanks very much. I think we're caught up. First item on the agenda is the time of use rate technical issues, which have emerged for discussing how it's possible for us to move to a time of use rate structure. So, Tom, should I turn this over to you to explain? We received a memo that had 4 different possibilities for how we could go forward, but maybe some background would be in order.
Yeah, I'll Brianna, can you just share that memo?
Yes. Okay, it's Sharon.
Yeah, okay. So
First, let's lay out the problem.
yeah, so we thought that we would be able to do the time of use rate with the metering that we had. what we discovered was our Cogsdale system only takes reads. Our meters provide those reads to the to Cogsdale, but our meters only have one register, so they provide a start and an end read for the month. And although we get an hourly read every or a read every 15 minutes, basically, from our Choice Connect system, Cogsdale only takes the beginning read and the end read. That all those other reads aren't used. So in order for us to do time of use, we would need multiple registers in the meter. We had looked at, our thought was that we could do something to, since we do have the data, that we could do something to accumulate the reads from the different times and put that into Cogsdale. But in order to do that, we would have to make up the reads. So we have the consumption, but we'd have to make the reads up. If we missed, if there was something went wrong with the Choice Connect system, we didn't get a read or something, that could really screw up the system. So we talked to Itron, and Itron said the only way we can really do it is you'd have to replace the meters with we thought with an AMI, we'd be able to use an AMI system, but AMI won't work with the Choice Connect system that we currently have, and just put in probably, I don't know, we put that in before Paul left, so 21. That system won't work with the AMI meters. So we would have to buy new AMR meters that have basically three registers in them. Those meters are about $300, somewhere around $300 a piece, depending on the number of meters we would be buying. So in order to do even a pilot, we would have to go out and change these meters. The other option is we could go to this system. It's called a tantalus system, and it's basically it would replace the Choice Connect system that we just put in. But with that system, we would have to replace 20% of our meters, because it ends up being a mesh system with the AMI meters. So we could use AMI meters, but we would have to replace 20% of the system, plus we'd have to basically buy the tantalus system and run the tantalus system in the Choice Connect system, probably at the same time. And then the third option is to look at is we've talked to Cogsdale to see if they could do something in the background to create use the data that we have and somehow make it work for the time of use. They're looking at it. That's probably going to be $50,000 to $100,000 to do that.
But that could ultimately accommodate any number of people moving to the time of use rates if it worked.
If it worked, yeah.
So on the first option of replacing 20% of the meters with meters that work with the tantalus system, because it's a mesh system, do those meters have to be located in various different places around town? Because of course, if we were just running a pilot, we wouldn't necessarily, it would probably be an opt-in, and we wouldn't know where those meters would end up.
Yeah, they would have to be, the 20% would have to be strategically placed to create the mesh network. So you'd probably be replacing more than 20% of the meters to do time of use. And again, it's it's one thing to do a pilot and have 150 people in it, but it's, if you put it out there and you get, 2,000 people, now you're talking about, anywhere to from $600,000 to $700,000 for those meters.
Do we know how long these solutions would take to deploy to be ready?
Jeff, do you know how long it would take to replace the tantalus system, to put a tantalus system in?
It took about a little less than a year for the fixed network, so I would venture a guess that deploying tantalus would probably be around the same. It's a matter of setting up the interfaces for both ways, for seeding the system with HMLP data to marry that with the meters that it detects in the wild, and then the interface back with the reads.
I mean, in the Cogsdale solution, my only fear with that is that we, basically we're just taking the meter is collecting the information right now and giving a read to Cogsdale. So we'd be moving that, basically moving that up to Cogsdale, that data collection, and if there's any glitch between the meter and Cogsdale, then it's whatever system they write to come up with, we could still have a problem with the meter reading. We're not getting it's not actually a read that they're taking then, although we do have the data, but it might be more difficult to explain that to a customer.
It seemed when you and I talked about this, like that was your main concern about this approach. We don't know what it would cost. We can't compare it cost-wise with the other options because Cogsdale hasn't told us what they would charge to do this modification. So we can't compare that, but your main, let's assume that so we'd be using our current meters, we wouldn't be replacing any meters. The only cost would be whatever we need to pay Cogsdale to accept the data in the form that we need it to be. But you have some concerns about how reliable that would be. That's your main issue, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So if we were to go to a brand new system and forget everything that we have in place right now, how would that compare in price? But moreover, would that give us the flexibility in the future so we don't find ourselves in this predicament of not being able to do demand response, et cetera, et cetera?
I think the ultimate solution is the AMI, right? And that the AMI would be somewhere around $3 million to replace, our system. And that wouldn't include labor. I don't think that would be just to replace the meters and the hardware, and then you'd have labor on top of that to install the meters.
But we do anticipate making that move in about 10 years, right? When
Correct.
the life that's on the agenda, it's sort of a question of how we get from here to there.
Right. So these meters are about 10 years old now. So typically a meter is, usually get about a 20-year life out of a meter. So.
But the technology is changing so fast and prices are dropping. I'm not sure that still holds. And maybe there are advantages into going with, a new state-of-the-art system that is going to be forward compatible with things that we're going to ask later on down the road.
So a lot of the new AMI systems now give people the control of their own usage in their homes with portals and all that stuff. So that's kind of the new trend going out there.
Yeah.
So, again, there's other metering companies out there like Honeywell, there's Nighthawk that uses just mesh network design without the infrastructures on the pole. So,
But of course, the longer we wait to make an overall replacement, probably the features and the advantages of the system will be more established and less cutting edge. I don't know if that applies here, but it is the technology, in fact, changing really fast around what these meters can do. As Mike says, not to say I don't believe you, Mike.
I mean, Laura, I think there's been a huge leap in what these companies are trying to produce. There's joint ventures with technologies. They're all trying to become the go-to technology. So there has been a huge leap in smart meters in recent years.
right.
Yeah.
The smart meters themselves, you know, they all do the same thing. They can give, you know, the utility all the, you know, the voltages at the homes. I mean, it's just, I think they got more into a platform for people to control their own destiny with their electric bills. And again, let's say in a year or two, you deploy new ones, you know, it's going to happen. Another year, you know, as you go down the road, technology is going to change anyways, but the meter itself will still be doing the same thing. So, you know, it seems like, you know, more and more utilities are going towards AMI. I think National Grid just did a thing for the DPU to file for the deployment of AMI meters. So, and basically it helps. It is going to make the smart grids of the future, and it's, you know, it's a good leap of faith.
My big concern at the state of the industry where everybody is jumping on the bandwagon and there's a lot of competition is I don't want to end up with the 8-track tape of AMI meters, if you know what I mean, if things are changing really fast. To me, there's an advantage to waiting a few years before switching the whole system over and trying to figure out a way to do a time of use program that people can opt into between now and then. That's what's appealing to me. The other scary thing is the idea of trying to do another $3 million capital investment when we have this very large capital project that we still have not funded. So I'm concerned about that as well. So this is all a lot of food for thought. I don't think we're going to be making a decision this very second. I would like to have the opportunity to talk with Tom some more about it, offline and really get a grip on all of these options. What do Tom and Mike, Tyler and Mike, sorry, what are you thinking about how to approach this now?
I'd love more information, especially about solution 4, to see if that's even viable. I don't want to sign on to the Betamax or 8-track tapes either. So if that's a risk here, then that's something we should be very careful with.
I don't know that it is. I kind of made that up. That's my fear. I just, we may learn that that's not really what it looks like when we learn more and more.
I think, Tom, could you include a summary of the options in your memo, just for clarification, so we can review it all the data in one place of the different options?
Yeah, we can put that together. And when we were looking at this, we were talking about writing something internally to collect the data and come up, basically we would be making up reads, based on the consumption. So we would make up the reads internally. You know, that's kind of the thought frame that we had in the, you know, when this first started, but, and it, you know, that's where the problem was. I don't know, you know, we have to talk with Cogsdale to see whatever solution they have doesn't have any bugs in it, or we won't be, concerned with their solution, you know.
Well, you sort of wonder how we would know that in advance. You can imagine it looks to them just as it looks to us, like a kludge for, you know, it's a one-off project that, and you can't point to, oh yeah, we've done this, you know, 300 other places and we don't have any problems. So how would we know that there was no bugs until we tried it?
Just a note about you know, having Cogsdale programming that for us is, I mean, this is not the professional way to do it, to be honest. Because in time of use billing, you really have to have two unique reads coming from the meter, one for the off-peak and one for the on-peak. So now we're playing with data and we're making, you know, minusing, you know, you're having one register reporting to you all the reads, and you have to figure out what to minus from what. So even for the customer service reps, in order for them to be able to help the customers and say, you know, you consume this and that much, it's not easy task for them to present that information.
Mhm.
It's always going to be a virtual read, not the actual read on the meter. So even if the customer goes out and look at the read in the meter, it's totally different than what we have billed them.
Mhm.
So as far as I'm concerned, that option is not a good option. It's not professional. We need to, I mean, the professional way to do it is to get meters with two registers and have unique reads for your off-peak and on-peak. This way you have really a solid system. Otherwise, I mean, you know, we have a storm, the collectors go down, something goes down, we lose that time. We don't have anything. In order for this to work professionally, you need a meter that returns and stores the data for you for that billing cycle. If you don't have that stored and accumulated through the month, you're not really doing it professionally. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that's how I feel about it. I just wanted to say that.
Thanks, Samir. Go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks, Samir. I appreciate that opinion and sounds right to me. Thank you.
Sure.
Laura, Jeff and I want to add one thing, if you don't mind. You know,
Yeah.
if you're, you know, if you worry about technology, this is kind of on what Mike Reed was saying. You know, back in 2012, when we decided, no, I'm not going to say when it was decided to go to the AMR meters, we went from, you know, 2012 to back to 1960s, where other municipal light plants were already transforming into the AMI network. You know, one of our closest municipal light plants has had theirs for, I'm going to say, north of 10, 11 years. And it's still going strong, and they still get all the attributes that most utilities don't even really use, but it gives, you know, the power to the residents to use dashboards. So as the technology is changing, honestly, it's just a meter. It's, you know, if you buy some today, you know it's going to happen. You know, tomorrow they'll add another feature. But the difference with AMI meters, you're allowed to upgrade software through the air. So like if a home needs a bi-directional meter, we can do it from here versus going out there and reprogramming. So that technology really hasn't changed. So just kind of let you know that when, like I said, back in 11 and 12, when it was decided, you know, we did go back 30 plus years.
Essentially, we were agreeing with you offline about the Betamax and A-Track concerns. Essentially, you know, although the technology here or anywhere is a moving target, we adopted Betamax and A-Track back when we decided to go with AMR instead of AMI.
And it would, in the Choice Connect network that we released 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Has been a godsend to us. I can see transformer loading pretty much on a live time basis within a day. We can now see outages.
Real-time outages.
I mean, we know when outages are coming in prior to the phone call. So it is just, there was such a benefit of this Choice Connect network. It's been a godsend.
But it's making the most out of what we had.
But it does not, it will not serve us if we go to AMI meters, is what I'm taking on board here.
No.
No.
Correct, yeah, it won't work with the AMI meters. You have to go to, we'd have to get a different system. I guess the Tantalus system, but again, even with that system, you have to replace 20% of your meters. And you would have to, it'd be more than 20%, right? Because they have to create a mesh network with those, and we don't know whether who's gonna actually wanna have time of use, so.
Mhm.
And to be
Well-
fair, that Tantalus system was presented to us as an option with Itron meters, but if we're gonna make a forward-thinking investment, there's nothing saying that we need to go with Itron meters.
Mhm.
And-
So, but the Tantalus, that's software, right? So the Tantalus software might
It's
be,
actually, so it's actually a meter.
oh,
Up
is it the ones
connection.
you put on the poles?
No, there's two options. It's actually a meter or Lauren, do you remember the off-peak hot water meters? They had a device, they had like a square box on top of them.
Mhm.
It's basically it's like an attachment to the meters.
Oh, mhm.
So,
I
and you'd
see.
have to, you'd really have to deploy if everybody around town, so we have 20 square miles of territory, right? A lot of trees and all that stuff. So kind of what Tom says, you would really have to make a network that's going to leapfrog to each other back to
Mhm.
HMLP.
Right. Well, I feel like I understand a lot more now about these options from this discussion. Thank you, Samir and Jeff and Steve and Tom. And I think we need to chew it over a little bit. I'm going to plan to make some time with Tom just to, go more in depth into it. And I'd encourage Mike and Tyler to do that too. Yes, Tyler.
Question about the technology. One thing I would be really concerned with is, and I don't know if this is an issue yet, though. Samira, you mentioned that the new meters have 2 registers and they read on a peak and off-peak basis. Now, a lot of places in the West where their load shapes have changed drastically have 3 or even 4 time of use periods. And so if we switch to a technology, I wouldn't want to limit ourselves to the amount of registers that a meter has. I'd want to make sure that if we want to go to 2 periods first, because that fits us best, but we still have the option to go to 3 and 4 periods in the future when things have changed even more.
I agree with you. Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely.
Tyler, just to answer that question, most utilities now, a lot of the utilities are looking at a three read, which it may be 4 because you have a demand aspect. So call it 4. This is where like I think the AMI is coming into place. So they have off peak, on peak, super peak. So super peak, I've seen the DPU filings for between June and August. So there's actually 3 plus your demand.
I know that Concord right now is looking at a 3-period time of use rate structure.
Right.
I think that's fairly common.
We purchase the meters if we go with that route. We'll just have to make sure that it's we can expand with more than 2 registers if we want to. Probably would cost more money, right, Steve?
Yeah, if you're going down that path, you need an open wave meter, which is an AMI.
Okay.
That gives you multiple ERTs. Plus you can add ERTs to the AMI.
Okay.
Well, that sounds like a way not to buy the next Betamax is to make sure that we have.
It's
Chance
really
to-
what it's really what you choose for the meter package.
Mm,
And there's plenty of out there. There's, GE, Itron, Nighthawk, Honeywell. They're all compatible.
So let me ask my colleagues, should we take this offline? I feel the need to get more information, just from a chance to chat with Steve or Tom or Samir about it, and return to it. Unless there's something else we need to talk about today.
Sounds good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we will put this one on hold, and because it requires some careful thinking and research. So thanks very much for the thought that went into preparing this, these options for us to think about. That's really very helpful. There's the low income discount rate is on the agenda, and also the meter charge for the AMR meter opt out. The 7 to 8 customers who do not use the AMR meters, what are we going to charge them? When we discussed it at the last meeting, I had suggested that when we discussed it again next, we have our. I think the low income. Can I propose that we discuss the meter charge for the AMR meter opt out now ahead of the low income rate discount? Because I think my suggestion is that we postpone that discussion, because I had committed to making sure that we notified all those 7 or 8 customers that we were going to be discussing it, and we haven't done that. But before we do postpone it, if that's okay with Tom and Mike, I saw Tyler nodding his head. I don't know, Tom, is that okay?
No, yeah, it's fine with me. Yeah.
Okay, Mike, Tyler.
Yeah, fine with me.
Yep.
Okay, I just wanted to ask one question about the memo that you sent about it, so that I can make sure I understand. Here's nope, that is the next. That's not it. That's what we're going to be talking about next. Let me just, I took what Steve wrote and I put it into a spreadsheet so that I could, I hope this is it. Here we go. Yeah, so I just wanted to ask about this. Here is what Steve put in his memo about the costs of doing the meter reads for those 7 to 8 customers. I just wanted to ask Steve to help me think about this in the interim. You have 2 costs here, one for its standard rate and one for when the meter tech is on standby rate. When is that, the standby rate? When does that come up?
Yeah,
So-
he's on
Go ahead, Tom.
standby when we do collections. The week that we're doing collections.
Okay,
So he gets an extra 14 hours
Yeah.
of pay that week. And what that does is that goes into his regular, it increases his straight time rate for the week.
and is that when you would expect to be doing these readings normally? Is that when it actually happens, or does it happen
It-
when he's on standard rate?
It's a possibility. The customer service reps would know better, but it's when the root comes up in the billing period. I mean, most of the time he is on his normal
Okay,
rate, but however, there could be a time where he has to read during the collection time where his rate does go up.
I see. Okay, and then my other question was, under standard rate, you listed number of stops as 7, and under standby rate, you listed number of customers as 8. So I wondered why the discrepancy there.
That might have been me when I transferred it. I might have fat fingered it.
Okay, is it 7 or 8? Just
It's
to
7.
be sure. It's 7.
7.
Okay, that is easily
That-
changed.
Yeah, again, that number changes too, we have people that, even when we sent that letter out, we had a couple of people that opted not to, opted to get a regular meter, an AMR meter now. And we had a couple of people that opted in to it, that had an AMR meter and opted to get the manual read meter. So
Mhm.
again, that number, it doesn't fluctuate a lot, but
Yeah,
it can fluctuate.
okay. Okay, great. I just wanted to get the answer to those two questions, and then we can move that to a future agenda where we will notify the customers who are on the non-AMR meters that we're going to be
Yeah.
discussing it. And I'll just share, since it is on the agenda at the moment, I am leaning towards recommending that we set the rate at excuse me, at $30 rather than $40. It's close to what it looks like the cost. It's closer than $20, the current charge, to what it actually costs to collect it. But doesn't feel oppressive to me. Although the customers in question may have a different feeling about that, but I'll just put that out there, and we can all think about that and think about what you would suggest as a rate. We'll discuss it at a future meeting. Does that sound good to everybody?
Yeah, that's fine with me. My only other comment is, if we do go to a time of use rate, this would give, and we tell everyone they have to be on the time of use rates, this would give people an option to not have time of use.
You would ask them to choose a manual read meter if they didn't
I
want to be on. time of use.
I wouldn't ask them, but I'm just saying that
You-
this, if they didn't want to go on it, right, this would be their out.
Mhm. They could choose this.
Yeah, right.
I see.
Just
Okay.
something to think about. Yep.
Okay, thanks very much. So the next item on the agenda is the low income discount rate discussion, and Brianna prepared a kind of a briefing document for us on that. Do you want to share that, Brianna, or I have it up if you want me to share it? You're muted. Here we go. Okay, could you kind of walk us through this, because I couldn't I was a little confused when we got to the bottom of it, and we were talking about potential revenue and potential, the cost and revenue, how much revenue. I was a little confused because I'm not I don't understand about 2.7. Are you talking about 2.7 people per home and one person per home? Maybe walk us through it. Help me understand.
Sure. So up at the top, we took the total number of people that live in Hingham and our total number of residential meters. And then we got the percentages of potential number of people in Hingham that would be below the poverty line. So on the low end, that could be 3.2%. We also saw 5.7%. And then on the high end, this is just the average for Massachusetts, it's 10.4%. I really don't think that we're at that level in Hingham, but we included that just to be very safe and aware of any possibility. But we're more so looking at probably this 3.2 or 5.7%. And so
where did this data come from?
The US Census, it's like census.gov. And a couple other census websites. So I did a little bit of searching, because sometimes they only take sections of a town rather than the entirety of a town. And that's why we have these two different percentages. But they were both the census.gov quick facts, and then that turns into.
So that is by people, not by households, right?
Yes. So that's why we
So,
have, these are the number of just people that those percentages would mean.
mhm.
The second chart is trying to guess how many households that could be. So when we convert it into, because it's not one person per home in every
Right.
single home. And so we're probably looking at the average number of people in a house, which would be about 2.7. So that's 2.7 people in a home, which would be 1 meter. And that's why we have 301, 536, or up to 978.
Mhm.
These 1 per home would be, say we look at a really high, maybe most of these people in Hingham are, you know, individuals on a fixed income living by themselves. That's the only reason that that number is there. So say by some odd circumstance, every individual below the poverty line is, for instance, an elderly citizen living by themselves, and that's how we get 772 or these other numbers here. So that's what this 1 per home is trying to represent, but more likely we are looking at this 2.7 per home average. And even then, just for context, right now on our financial and medical hardship, we have 11 people, 11 customers. So it's really not, we're not expecting to hit these numbers. This is just to give you a high end of what the potential impact could be to HMLP. So then when we scroll down, these are just rate estimates if things were to go up 6% every year. I only did these first 3 years below, so you can see the impact in 2023, 2024, and 2025. This is our current rate, and this rate discount, it would be applied to the capacity transmission distribution charge, and then this is the cost they would see instead on their bill. I did talk with Joan, and Joan, would this cost, the discount would be applied to other parts of the bill as well?
Yep, the customer charge is also discounted.
Okay, so the customer charge is not included on this, and
Yeah.
it,
So I went back and looked at what UFS had recommended, and they recommended discounting the customer charge and the CTD rate.
okay. And this would be, when you scroll down, you can see each year as a monthly impact and a yearly impact. So when we look at, you know, just 2.7 people per home, maybe up to 300 homes, the impact to HMLP based on any of these percentages looks to be about this much.
Of course, you know, when we include the customer charge into this, that's another significant discount.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And the single customer impact, just looking at what they would gain from the different percentages on just this capacity transmission distribution charge, these are what the savings could look like. So on a monthly basis, if you did just 10%, they could be saving just over $4. On the high end of that, the 30% savings per month would be about $12. And it might be easier to look at it on an annual scale. So down below, you can see this is what they could potentially save on a yearly basis. And then it just scrolls down. So there's 2023, 2024, and 2025 for you to consider.
I'm just curious, we may not have this off the top of our heads. Do we know what our average bill is for all of our customers, all of our residential customers? I'm curious to know. But we probably don't know that off the top of our head, so.
No.
I don't know, but I think 500 kilowatt hours per month was a general, we've used that as a benchmark in the past, which is why it's used as a benchmark here.
Yeah, typically they use between 500 and 700 kilowatt hours a month is as an average usage.
And that's without going all electric on heating and cooling, I assume.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's
Yep.
like an average you're using.
Yeah, average right now. Yep.
Okay. Write that down. Okay, well, this is very helpful. Thank you very much, Brianna, for putting this together.
Do you mind if
yeah.
I just say something? This is Ellen from.
Hi, Ellen. Yes, please.
Hi. So it was earlier stated that there are 11 medical and financial. There are 11 people on medical and financial, but you have to understand that you have to have both. So there could be many, many more people on financial hardship if you don't have to have the medical. So I just want to make sure that
Right.
we clarify that. 11 seems like a low number, but it could be potentially much higher because you don't have to, marry it up to a medical hardship as well. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I'm so glad you pointed that out because I too wanted to bring that up. A little while ago, Joan, you sent out Reading's application for their lower income rate, and here are all of the programs that they allow you to choose from to qualify, and that's a lot. So, and in addition to these, I think that we have some tax tax benefits in Hingham, some for veterans, some for means tested seniors, which you could add to this where the town does the verification. We wouldn't need to do that. We would just have that available. One piece of this that really appealed to me is I receive benefits from the following programs. Public housing is listed as one of those. And I really like that idea of having you live in public housing makes you eligible because of course you have to means qualify to live in public housing. And it would be very easy for those customers to apply because all they would need for verification is their address. We have 2 public housing facilities in town and we know where they are and it's easy to know who lives there. So I like that because it lowers the barrier to people being able to apply. But these are a lot of options. So I don't know if we should ask the staff to suggest what programs are appropriate. What do you think, Joan?
Well, I think that once you say that, one of these programs doesn't qualify, they're going to ask you why it doesn't qualify because they're still obviously in financial need.
Mm-hmm. And so, but for all of them, they would need to produce some verification for us, except for the public housing option, which is easier, right?
Right.
So would you favor putting all of these programs on the list of qualifications?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I would be in favor of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I see this as being almost an incentive for people to convert to electric heat pumps. If you look at the running costs of these heating systems, it's going to be a substantial part of that 500 to 700 kilowatt hours plus what the heating load and cooling load is going to be. And we want to incent those that need it most, encourage them to make those conversions. So I see this as being an integral part of our rebate and incentive program. And I think we should also do some projections just to have an idea of if somebody does convert to all electric with heat pumps, what that is going to do to their electric bill and how our discount rate here is going to be affected.
That's a really good point, Mike. And the other point is that there are a lot of state there are state grants available for helping people who fall below a certain income level. The mass save incentives are larger if you qualify by income, and but people who don't make the average income in Hingham will need a lot of help. And it's a good point that this would be help too. So let me then ask Tyler and Mike if anybody has a proposal for what our low income rate should be. I think that people from UFS suggested that 20% is fairly common. And then the other thing is that people have suggested that once we establish a low income rate at a certain percentage, pulling it back to a lower percentage would be a very difficult thing to do. for whatever reason. So maybe I should ask Tom how these numbers appear to you in terms of Tom and Joan, really, about the impact that it would have on our operating, because of course we're setting our planning, we planned our 6% rate increases to cover our revenue requirement, and then this would drop out a piece of the rates that we were planning to use to cover our revenue requirements. So where would that leave us?
I don't think this is gonna have a significant impact on us. I mean, granted, I wasn't thinking about the people in public housing and things like that, but again, you know, we're not looking at a huge number of customers that are probably gonna qualify, and some customers that do qualify probably aren't gonna apply because, you know, they're too proud of for or whatever reason, but
Mhm.
we do find that, so.
Is there any way we can get more data on how many people, not names or anything, just qualify for all those different categories so we can get a better idea of what impact this would have financially?
I mean, it's easy enough to count the number of people that are in public housing, right? But the other programs, we have no insight into, you know, what people qualify for. That's
But we could, the only area where we might be able to get that kind of information is from the town treasurer and their means tested tax breaks that they have.
For the
Although
property
the
taxes.
situation there is very similar, which is that I think only a very small percentage of people who actually qualify apply.
Yeah.
But we could ask them, you know, in all the various tax break programs that we have, and there's about 5 of them, how many people take advantage of them? I'm sure they'd be, we could find that out. Yes, Joan.
Is that just for homeowners though, that tax discount? I mean, a lot of these people live in town, they don't own a home and there's still.
Yes, good point.
little
It's a
poverty.
property tax break, so that's the only people who would qualify. And of course, that doesn't apply to any of the people in public housing. None of
Yeah.
those people would be on
Right.
those tax break programs.
You can always do a pilot program. You know,
How would you allow some people to be on it and deny
well,
others?
meaning that a time pilot program, we can do it for a year and see what type of impact it has. We have the right to change our rates at any
But
point.
we do, but you know,
What
it
if,
has,
what if we tier it? You know, a 30% discount up to 1,000 kilowatt hours, and then additionally a 20% discount or a 10% discount.
To
Well,
implement that, would
if
be-
there's concern, right, what we could start with the 10%, give them a 10% and see at the end of the year, what did that equate to? How many people do we have on it? And then we could adjust it upward if we think it's reasonable.
just to see what the impact is.
Yep.
Yep.
I like the idea of starting simple.
And it's certainly easier to raise it than to lower it.
Yep.
As has been pointed out. Okay. So I feel like we need something a little more, you know, written out to vote on with a list of the programs and so forth. We have readings, but we need to think about what the list would be. So Tom, could we ask the staff to make a proposal? Yes, Brianna.
We actually have, so we did create a sample application and we
Oh.
do have a list of the questions that would need to be answered to put the program in place. I don't know if
Oh,
you want me to share that or.
Yeah, sure, that'd be great.
so I just want to point out, we're coming up against our,
I can share it
Sure.
after the meeting.
yeah,
Yeah.
why don't you send it around so we can have a look at it? I didn't know that we gotten that far, so that's great.
I
And
need to drop off, Laura, but I mean, if you want to continue,
Yeah.
Joan is on. Joan could, Joan can go over the financials and stuff. And, Steve could probably provide updates on some of, some of the projects if you'd like. It's up to you,
okay, let me ask my colleagues how that, we had advertised this as a 1-hour meeting, so what do you guys want to do at this point? Mike, Tyler, would you like to continue the discussion? And take another half hour, or are you not able to do that?
I'd love to see the document that Brianna has and share that. You'd share that after the fact and then pick this up the next time.
Okay,
Yeah,
that sounds good to me.
I'm moving towards having a higher discount for those that are all electric to incent that. I have to admit that I feel that this is an opportunity to incent people to move and take advantage of the programs that are out there to go all electric. So I can understand starting slowly on, you know, the base load for a home, 500 to 700 kilowatts. But when people start to put heat load on, I think this is an opportunity that we don't want to miss. And I agree that maybe this is time to table it for today and look at the data and have a think about it some more.
Okay, is what staff have any thoughts about that? Brianna will send around your application, and I encourage everybody to take a look at the list of programs that would allow people to qualify, and ask yourself if you know of any others that might make sense.
Yeah, we'll meet with the customer service, and I'm sure they'll have some great ideas for it.
Mhm. Okay, so I think maybe we will just postpone the other items on the agenda now. I'm guessing that it will be very hard for us to have another meeting in August, just because people are likely to be gone, right?
I'm gone next week,
Mhm,
traveling for work.
mhm. Are you gonna travel for fun ever? Maybe not,
One
maybe
day.
not this summer, yeah, okay. So I will confess that I just I feel like once we have a lot on our plate, and I'm super anxious to work out the time of use, to bring that in for a landing some way, so we know where we're going in the future, and it's taking us quite some time. So how about suppose we were to have a meeting on Tuesday, August 22nd. Is that something that people could do?
That's the NEPA conference. Is that?
Oh, we're gonna be gone, right? Will not be here. At least Mike and Tom and I will not be here. Okay. Well, I am out of town the next weekend, so the next week. So I guess we're up to September. So we might as well just give ourselves a break and have our usual meeting time on the second Tuesday of September. So that will be September 12th.
Okay.
Okay, does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Thank you, everyone. And once again, I want to thank, I forgot to mention, I think the minutes are great. I want to thank our staff for producing such great minutes. I think they're extremely helpful and really great. Thank you. And so I will entertain a motion to adjourn in that case.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Mike,
Aye.
Tyler,
Aye.
Laura, aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good morning.
Take care.
Take care, everyone.